The crystalline forest of Threshold 7 shimmered under the light of 3 moons. Corporal Taman pressed his back against a broken pillar, his breathing controlled despite the pain radiating from his left shoulder. Flood seeped through his combat armor, where the plasma bolt had grazed him. Around him lay the bodies of his squad, 5 good soldiers who would never see home again. The ambush had come from nowhere. One moment they were scanning the forest for enemy movement. The next moment purple fire was raining down from the trees. The Velari were supposed to be 3 kilometers away according to intelligence. Intelligence was wrong. Intelligence was always wrong. Taman checked his rifle. Half a magazine left, enough to take a few more of them with him if they found him. He had retreated into these ancient ruins, structures so old that neither humans nor Velari knew who built them. The stone walls were covered in symbols that glowed faintly in the darkness. Good cover at least, he heard footsteps. Light, careful footsteps that barely disturbed the fallen leaves. Taman raised his rifle, finger on the trigger. His heart pounded, but his hands were steady. 3 years of war had taught him that much. A figure appeared in the doorway. Taman's finger tensed on the trigger, then froze. It was a Velari, yes. He could tell from the tall, slender form and the way the moonlight reflected off their silver-blue skin. But this one wore no armor. Instead, flowing robes covered the figure and the hands were raised, showing no weapons. "Please," the figure said in accented human language. "I mean no harm." Taman kept the rifle aimed at center mass. "Step into the light slowly." The figure obeyed. As she moved forward, Taman saw her clearly for the first time. She was young, perhaps his age in Velari years. Her face was distinctly alien. Large eyes that shimmered like opals. No nose but small breathing slits, and skin that seemed to glow from within. But there was something in those eyes. Fear, yes, but also curiosity. "You are injured," she observed, looking at his shoulder. "I've had worse." Taman's voice was cold. "What are you doing here? Where's your patrol?" "I have no patrol. I am alone." She lowered her hands slightly. "I saw the battle. I saw your companions fall. I am sorry." "Sorry?" Taman almost laughed. "Your people killed them." "Yes, and your people have killed many of mine." Her voice was soft, sad. "The war takes and takes. It never gives anything back." Taman studied her. Something was wrong with this situation. A lone Velari in civilian clothes, speaking human language, wandering a battlefield. "Who are you?" She hesitated. "My name is Aaron. I was supposed to marry someone I do not love. I ran away." She looked at the rifle still pointed at her chest. "You can shoot me if you wish. Maybe it is better than going back." The rifle wavered. Taman had killed 17 Velari soldiers in 3 years. 17 beings who had probably had names, families, dreams. He had learned to push those thoughts away, to see them only as targets. But this one was different. This one had run away from a marriage. That was so human. "Sit down," he said finally, lowering the rifle slightly. "Over there. Keep your hands where I can see them." Aaron sat gracefully on a fallen stone. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." Taman pulled out a ration bar with his good hand. His shoulder was screaming at him now, but he ignored it. "I'm trying to decide if you're a trick. Some kind of trap." "I am not a trap." Aaron watched as he bit into the ration bar. "What is that?" "Food. We call it a ration bar. Tastes like cardboard mixed with protein powder, but it keeps you alive." He looked at her curious expression. "What do Velari eat?" "Crystal paste mostly, made from minerals we extract from stone, and Vrelis fruit when we can grow it." She tilted her head. "May I ask you something?" "You're asking already. Why do humans fight so hard? We have studied your species. You are young. Your worlds are few. Your technology is less advanced, yet you never surrender. You never stop. Why?" Taman chewed slowly, considering. "Because we learned a long time ago that if we don't fight, we die. Our homeworld tried to kill us for thousands of years. Diseases, predators, natural disasters. We almost went extinct a dozen times. Then we finally reached the stars and found out the galaxy wanted to kill us too." He met her eyes. "We fight because we're too stubborn to lie down and die." Aaron was quiet for a moment. "We Velari have a saying. The stone that refuses to break becomes the mountain. Perhaps humans are such stones. Why did your people start this war?" The question came out harsher than Taman intended. "We were just exploring, establishing colonies. Then your fleets showed up and started burning our settlements. Because we are afraid. Aaron's voice dropped to almost a whisper. 12,000 years ago, another species came to our worlds. They were explorers too at first. They seemed peaceful. Then they began to expand, to take our resources, to push us aside. We fought a war that lasted centuries and nearly destroyed us. When we saw humans spreading across the stars, moving toward our territories, she looked away. We saw them. The ones who almost killed us all. Taman felt something shift in his chest. Fear. The Velari were afraid. This whole war, all the death, was because they were terrified of a threat that no longer existed. We're not them. Whoever they were, I know. Aaron looked back at him. I have studied human culture. Your music, your art, your stories. You are not conquerors. You are survivors. But my people cannot see the difference. Not anymore. Outside voices called in the Velari language. Search parties probably looking for Aaron, or for him. Taman stood painfully, keeping his rifle ready. You should go, he said, before they find you with me. Aaron stood as well. Will you kill me? If we meet again as enemies, I don't know. It was the most honest answer Taman could give. She reached into her robe and pulled out a small device. This is a communicator. It uses a frequency neither of our militaries monitor. Traders use it. If you ever wish to speak again. She placed it on the ground between them. Thank you for not shooting me, Taman. I never told you my name. It is written on your armor. In your language. She smiled, a strange expression on an alien face, but somehow warm. Can we dine together again, human? Perhaps next time with better food than cardboard. Before Taman could answer, she was gone, vanishing into the shadows like smoke. He stood alone in the ruins, his dead squad behind him, his enemies somewhere in the darkness ahead, and a small communicator lying at his feet. He picked it up and tucked it into his belt. Then he began the long walk back to base, his mind churning with questions he had never thought to ask before. The war suddenly seemed less clear than it had that morning. Nothing seemed clear anymore. In the crystalline forest, 3 moons watched in silence. Taman returned to the ruins the next night. He told himself it was for tactical reasons, to recover equipment from his fallen squad. He told himself the communicator in his pocket had nothing to do with it. But when he activated the device and whispered into it, he knew he was lying to himself. Aaron, are you there? Static crackled for several seconds. Then her voice came through, soft and clear. Taman, you came back. I have questions, as do I. The ruins, can you return there? It is safer than speaking through devices that might be tracked. He should have said no. Every regulation, every instinct, every lesson from 3 years of war told him to destroy the communicator and forget this encounter. Instead, he found himself moving through the dark forest toward the ancient stones. She was already there, sitting on the same fallen pillar. This time she had brought something, a container that glowed softly blue. I brought food, she said. Real food, not soldier rations.
Will you try it?
Taman sat across from her, rifle within reach but not in his hands. What is it? Vrelis fruit paste with mineral crystals. It is what Velari children eat. She opened the container and the scent hit him, something like mint mixed with copper. Strange but not unpleasant. Our bodies need certain minerals to survive. Silicon, calcium, trace amounts of titanium. Without them, we become weak and die. He accepted a small portion on a flat piece of crystal she offered. It tasted odd, slightly metallic, but with a sweet undertone. Not bad, actually. The worlds we're fighting over, they have these minerals? Yes, in abundance. Aaron ate slowly, watching him. When we discovered these planets, we thought the gods had blessed us. Then we detected human ships approaching the same systems. We thought, she paused, we thought you would take them from us. That we would starve. That history would repeat itself. Taman set down the crystal plate. You could have talked to us, explained. Humans can be reasoned with. Can you? Aaron's eyes reflected the moonlight. Your people have a saying, I read. Give them an inch and they take a mile. We thought if we showed weakness, if we asked instead of defending, you would push us aside like the ones before did. That's not who we are, but we did not know that. All we knew was that another species was expanding toward our territory and we were afraid. She finished her meal and looked at him directly. Tell me, Taman, if another species came to Earth and said they needed your resources or they would die, would humanity simply give them away? He opened his mouth to say yes, then stopped. Would they? He thought about the resource wars on Earth, the conflicts over water and rare minerals, the way nations had fought for centuries over territory. I don't know, he admitted. But we would try to find a solution that worked for everyone. That is the difference between our species, Aaron said quietly. Humans think in possibilities. Velari think in certainties. We saw the pattern from before and assumed it would repeat. We did not consider that you might be different. They talked through the night. Aaron told him about Velari culture, how they lived for 300 years on average, how they could sense vibrations through their skin, how their society was built on consensus and ancient tradition. She explained that the Velari did not understand human individuality, the way humans would sacrifice everything for personal freedom. To Velari, the group always came before the self. Taman told her about humanity's history, about wars and peace, about mistakes and growth, about how humans had nearly destroyed themselves with nuclear weapons and pollution but had learned to work together. He told her about Earth's blue oceans and green forests, things no Velari world had. He told her about music and movies and art, about how humans expressed themselves through creation. We are very different, Aaron observed as the first moon began to set. Yeah, we are. Taman looked at her alien face and tried to see past it to the person beneath. But maybe that's okay. Different doesn't have to mean enemy. The war will not end because we two talk in ruins, Aaron said sadly. My people are committed. Your people are committed. Too much blood has been spilled to simply stop. Then what do we do? I do not know. I am just a princess who ran away from her duties. You are just a soldier following orders. She stood. But perhaps understanding is a start. Even if it changes nothing, at least we will know the truth. They met again the next night, and the night after that, 3 nights in total, stealing hours in the ruins while their peoples killed each other kilometers away. Aaron taught Taman words in the Velari language. He taught her human jokes, though she did not always understand why they were funny. They shared stories about their childhoods, their fears, their dreams of what life might be like without war. On the 3rd night, Aaron looked troubled. They are looking for me. My father has sent search parties across the entire sector. I must return soon or they will think I was killed or captured. What will happen to you? I will be forced to marry Commander Kyrith. It is a political union meant to strengthen my father's hold on the military. Kyrith wants this war to continue. He believes humans must be eliminated completely. She touched the communicator at her belt. I will still contact you if I can. There are things happening in the Empire that trouble me, plans being made that will kill many humans. Taman felt his stomach tighten. What kind of plans? I should not say. It is treason to tell an enemy. She looked at him with those strange, beautiful eyes. But you are not my enemy, Taman. You are my friend. Is that foolish? Maybe, probably. He managed a smile. But I consider you a friend too. Then as a friend I warn you. The northern sector. 3 days from now, a major offensive is planned. 12,000 soldiers, orbital support, chemical weapons. Your Fort Dejon will be the primary target. She stood quickly. I must go. Please survive this. The galaxy has too much death already. Aaron, wait. But she was gone again, melting into the shadows. Taman sat alone in the ruins, his mind racing. She had just given him intelligence that could save thousands of human lives. Intelligence he could never explain how he obtained. If he reported this, they would ask questions he could not answer. They would call him a traitor, but if he said nothing, everyone at Fort Dejon would die. He looked at the communicator in his hand. 3 days ago, this was his enemy. Now she was the only reason he might live through the next week. War had been simple once. He had known who to shoot, who to trust, who to hate. Nothing was simple anymore. Taman stood and began the long walk back to base. He had a decision to make and not much time to make it. In his pocket, the communicator hummed softly, still warm from Aaron's touch. Above, the 3 moons watched, silent and ancient, having seen countless wars come and go across the ages. Somewhere in the forest, alarms began to sound. Search parties were converging. His time was up. Fort Dejon hummed with activity as Taman walked through the gates at dawn. Soldiers moved in organized chaos, some heading to training, others returning from patrol, all of them tired and worn. 3 years of constant fighting had left marks on everyone. The base itself was a patchwork of prefabricated buildings and hastily erected defensive walls. built on ground that humanity had taken, lost, and retaken 4 times. Captain Jiwoo was waiting for him in the debriefing room. She was a hard woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Corporal, you're the only survivor from your patrol. Tell me what happened." Taemin stood at attention and delivered his report. Ambush, overwhelming force, tactical retreat, all true. He left out the part about the ruins and the princess. That truth would get him executed. "Your shoulder." Jiwoo gestured at the bandage. "Medical says the wound is consistent with Velari plasma weapons, but it's odd. The angle suggests you were running away, not engaging." "I was retreating, sir. Against 12 hostiles, it seemed like the smart move." "Smart?" "Yes." Jiwoo studied him. "You've always been smart, Taemin. Best tactical mind in the battalion. So tell me why you look like you've seen a ghost." 5 of my friends died yesterday. That's reason enough." She let it go, but Taemin could see the suspicion in her eyes. Jiwoo had not survived 3 years by being careless. She would be watching him now. The next 2 days crawled by. Taemin went through the motions, training with his new squad, eating in the mess hall, cleaning his rifle until it shone. Private Hyunwoo, the youngest member of the new squad, tried to make conversation. He was 22 and still thought war was about glory and honor. Taemin remembered thinking that way once, about a lifetime ago. "They say the Velari eat rocks," Hyunwoo said cheerfully. "Is that true?" "They need minerals. It's biology, not choice." Taemin's tone was sharper than intended. "You sound like you sympathize with them." "I don't sympathize. I just understand basic facts." Taemin stood and walked away before he said something he would regret. That night he lay in his bunk and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow, Aaron had said. Tomorrow the offensive would come. He had to decide, tell the truth and be executed as a traitor, or stay silent and let thousands die. There was a third option, a lie that might save lives. Before dawn, Taemin requested an emergency meeting with Captain Jiwoo. She received him in her office, looking annoyed at being woken early. "This better be important, Corporal. I think I know where the next Velari attack will come from." Her annoyance vanished, replaced by sharp attention. "Go on." "When I was retreating through the northern sector, I saw movement. A lot of movement. Troop carriers, supply lines, staging areas. I didn't mention it in my report because I thought I was seeing things, but..." He pulled out a map. "Here, this is where they're gathering. I think they're planning something big. Why didn't you report this immediately?" "Because I was half dead and not sure if I was hallucinating from blood loss. But I've thought about it. The position makes sense. It's the shortest route to Fort Daejeon." He met her eyes. "I think they're coming for us, sir." Jiwoo studied the map, her expression unreadable. "If you're right, we need to prepare. If you're wrong, we waste resources and leave other sectors vulnerable." She looked up at him. "Why do I feel like you're not telling me everything?" "Because soldiers never tell everything. But I'm telling you what matters. They're coming." She made her decision. "I'll take it to command. If intelligence confirms any of this..." She paused. "Good work, Corporal. Dismissed." Taemin left before she could ask more questions. His hands were shaking. He had just committed treason, using intelligence from an enemy to potentially save his base. If anyone discovered the truth, he would face a firing squad. The next day, Fort Daejeon prepared for battle. Long-range scanners confirmed unusual activity in the northern sector. Command decided to trust Taemin's report. Artillery was repositioned, patrols were doubled, defensive systems were brought online. Everyone was ready. When the Velari attacked at dawn, they found human forces waiting for them. The battle was brutal. Plasma fire lit up the sky while human railguns tore through Velari armor. Chemical weapons were deployed, but human forces had their protective gear ready. What should have been a massacre turned into a stalemate. After 8 hours of fighting, the Velari retreated, having lost thousands of soldiers without gaining any ground. Fort Daejeon survived. 200 humans died instead of 2,000. Captain Jiwoo found Taemin in the medical bay, where he was helping treat wounded soldiers. "Walk with me, Corporal." They walked through the damaged section of the base where plasma fire had melted steel walls. "You saved a lot of lives today," Jiwoo said quietly. "Command is recommending you for a medal." "I don't want a medal. I know. That's what bothers me." She stopped and turned to face him. "I've been a soldier for 15 years. I've seen a lot of things. And right now I'm seeing a man who looks guilty even though he just saved his entire base. Maybe I feel guilty that 500 Valari died because of information I provided. Soldiers don't usually feel guilty about killing the enemy. Her eyes were hard. What's going on with you, Taman? He wanted to tell her. Wanted to explain about Aaron. About the conversations in the ruins. About learning that their enemy was just as scared as they were. But the words would not come. Nothing, sir. Just tired. Get some rest. That's an order. She walked away but threw back one last comment. And Taman? Whatever you're involved in, be careful. This war doesn't forgive complicated loyalties. That night, Taman activated the communicator. Aaron, are you there? Her voice came through, strained and tired. I am here. I saw the battle reports. You warned them. You knew I would. Yes. But I had to tell you anyway. Too many would have died, she paused. Commander Kyrith is very angry. He suspects there was a leak. He is investigating everyone. I may not be able to contact you for some time. Are you in danger? We are at war, Taman. Everyone is in danger. She sounded sad. But I am glad Fort Dijon survived. I am glad you survived. Aaron, I must go. Be safe, my friend. Perhaps one day we will dine together in peace instead of whispering in shadows. The connection ended. Taman sat in the darkness of his bunk, the communicator warm in his hand. Outside, wounded soldiers moaned in pain. Engineers worked to repair damaged walls. Somewhere, commanders planned the next battle. Private Hyunwoo appeared at his bunk. Hey, Corporal, thanks. For whatever you did. My family would have gotten a death notice today if not for you. Just doing my job. No. Hyunwoo's young face was serious. You did more than that. I don't know how you knew they were coming, but you saved us all. He hesitated. Sir, why do we fight them? The Valari, I mean. I know the official reasons, but why really? Taman looked at the young soldier and saw himself 3 years ago. Full of questions that had no good answers. Because they're afraid of us. And we're afraid of them, and fear makes people do terrible things. Is there a way to stop being afraid? I don't know. Maybe. Taman thought of Arin's face in the moonlight. Maybe if we tried to understand each other instead of just shooting each other. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. That sounds nice. Impossible, but nice. He headed back to his own bunk. Taman lay down and closed his eyes, but sleep would not come. He had crossed a line today. He had used enemy intelligence to save human lives. He had committed treason for the right reasons. But treason was still treason, and somewhere out there Aaron was in danger because she had trusted him enough to warn him. The war that had once been simple was now a twisted maze with no clear path forward. He touched the communicator one more time before hiding it. Tomorrow would bring more battles, more death, more impossible choices. But tonight he let himself hope that maybe somehow there was a way out of this darkness, even if he could not yet see it. The imperial palace of the Valari floated among the stars, a massive structure of crystal and metal that had orbited their homeworld for 10,000 years. Aaron stood before her father, Emperor Velran the Eternal, and tried not to show her fear. The throne room was vast and cold, walls made of living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. 3 weeks you were missing, Velran said. His voice was tired, aged beyond his 270 years. 3 weeks we searched for you. 3 weeks we thought you were dead or captured by humans. I am sorry, Father. I needed time to think. To think. He descended from his throne, his long robes trailing behind him. Your wedding to Commander Kyrith is in 2 months. This union will secure the military's loyalty. We cannot afford division during wartime. I do not love him. Love? Velran laughed, a harsh sound. You are a princess. Love is a luxury for common people. You will marry Kyrith, and through this marriage we will have the strength to push the humans back and secure our survival. Aaron bowed her head. As you command, Father. But in her chambers later, attended by her handmaiden Sora, she allowed herself to weep. Sora had been her friend since childhood, one of the few people who knew Aaron the person, not Aaron the princess. I cannot marry him, Aaron whispered. Kyrith is cruel. He wants to exterminate all humans. Every single one. Not just push them back, but eliminate them completely. Sora brushed Aaron's silver hair, a gesture of comfort they had shared since they were children. The Emperor believes this marriage is necessary. But perhaps, she hesitated, perhaps you should tell him what you discovered while you were away. About the humans. About their true nature, he would not listen. He sees only threats, not possibilities. Aaron stood and walked to the window that looked out at the stars. I met one, Sora, a human soldier. His name is Taman. We spoke for 3 nights, and in those nights, I learned more about humanity than all my years of study. That is dangerous knowledge, my princess. All worthwhile knowledge is dangerous. Aaron activated a hidden console in her chambers. I have been investigating Kyrith. There are irregularities in his reports, battles that lasted longer than necessary, supply lines that were deliberately inefficient, resources that disappeared into accounts controlled by his supporters. Sora moved closer, her voice dropping to barely a whisper. What are you saying? I am saying that Commander Kyrith is prolonging this war intentionally. The longer it continues, the more power he gains. The more the military depends on him. He does not want victory, he wants control. Aaron pulled up files and data streams. Look, these battles here and here, we could have won decisively, but Kyrith held back forces at critical moments. These supply requisitions, materials that were listed as destroyed but were actually sold to merchants. This war is making him wealthy and powerful. If the Emperor knew this, he does not want to know. He is old and tired, Sora. He wants someone else to handle the war so he can focus on maintaining what is left of our empire. Kyrith has made himself indispensable. Aaron's hands clenched into fists. And I am to be the final piece in his plan. By marrying me, he gains legitimacy. The military will follow him without question, and this war will never end. Then what will you do? Aaron thought of Taman, of their conversations in the ruins, of the intelligence she had given him that had saved thousands of human lives. I will do what is necessary, even if it destroys me. Over the following weeks, Aaron played her role. She attended ceremonies and nodded during war councils. She smiled when Commander Kyrith visited and discussed their upcoming wedding. But in secret, she gathered evidence. She accessed restricted files and spoke with officers who were frustrated with how the war was being conducted. She learned that many in the military were tired of fighting, tired of dying for gains that were immediately lost. One night, she contacted Taman through the hidden communicator. Are you alone? Yes, what's wrong? You sound different. I have discovered something terrible. The war, our leaders do not want it to end. At least some of them do not. They profit from it. Humans are not the real enemy, Taman. The enemy is fear and greed and those who use both to gain power. Same thing is happening on our side, Taman said quietly. I've been watching. Certain corporations are making massive profits from weapons manufacturing. Politicians are building their careers on fear of the Velari. If the war ended, they would lose everything. Then we are both prisoners of the same machine. Aaron looked at the data surrounding her. I am gathering evidence against Commander Kyrith. When I have enough, I will present it to my father. But I fear it may not be enough. He has too much influence, too many supporters. What can I do? Nothing. This is not your burden. She paused. But Taman? If I succeed in exposing Kyrith, if I can convince my father that peace is possible, would humanity listen? Would your leaders even consider negotiation? I don't know. But I could try to find out. His voice was uncertain. There's a general, Minseo. She's different from the others. She actually cares about her soldiers, wants to minimize casualties. If anyone would listen to peace talks, it might be her. Then perhaps there is hope. Small hope, but hope nonetheless. Their conversation was interrupted by alarms. Sora burst into the room. Princess, security forces are conducting random communications checks. You must hide that device immediately. Aaron terminated the connection and concealed the communicator in a hidden compartment. Moments later, 2 guards entered and scanned her chambers. They found nothing, but their presence was a clear message. She was being watched. Commander Kyrith sends his regards, one guard said before leaving. He looks forward to your wedding. When they were gone, Aaron sat heavily. He suspects something. Not what, but something. Then you must be more careful. Sora knelt beside her. My princess, what you are doing is treason. If you are caught, if I do nothing, thousands more will die on both sides while men like Kyrith grow fat on blood money. Aaron's eyes hardened with determination. I am a princess. I was raised to serve my people, and right now the best way to serve them is to end this war. She spent another month gathering evidence, working carefully to avoid suspicion. She discovered financial records showing Kyrith had sold Velari military secrets to arms dealers. She found communications proving he had sabotaged peace initiatives years ago. She uncovered a network of officers and officials who were profiting from the war alongside him. When she finally had everything, she requested an audience with her father. Emperor Velrun received her in his private chambers away from the formal throne room. "You wish to speak with me, daughter?" Erin presented her evidence, files and records and testimony from dozens of sources. She explained everything: how Kirith had prolonged the war, how he had profited, how the marriage was just another tool for him to gain absolute power. Velrun listened in silence. When she finished, he was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "And how did you gather all of this information?" "Through investigation, through speaking with officers and officials." Through contact with the enemy?" His eyes were sharp. "Do not lie to me, Erin. I have my own intelligence sources. I know you spoke with a human soldier while you were missing. I know you have been communicating with him." Erin's blood ran cold. "Father, I know everything." He stood and walked to the window. "I have known for weeks, and I have done nothing because I wanted to see what you would do, what you would discover." He turned back to her. "You were always the smart one, always asking questions, always seeking truth. Then you believe me. About Kirith? I already suspected. Your evidence confirms it." He gestured at the files. "But it changes nothing. I cannot move against him, not yet. He controls too much of the military. If I try to arrest him, we risk civil war, and we cannot fight humans and ourselves at the same time. Then what do? We wait, we plan, and we hope for an opportunity." He touched her shoulder gently, a rare gesture of affection. "You have courage, daughter. More than I thought. But courage alone will not end this war. What will end it? A miracle. Or perhaps—" He looked at her intently. "Perhaps a meeting. Between those who truly want peace. Away from Kirith and his supporters. Away from politicians and profiteers. If such a meeting could be arranged—" "I may know someone who could help arrange it," Erin said carefully. "Your human soldier friend." "Yes." Velrun was quiet again. Then he nodded slowly. "Then contact him. But be careful. Kirith grows suspicious and his reach is long. If he discovers what we are planning, we will both die, and any hope for peace dies with us." That night, Erin contacted Taman one final time. "Something is going to happen. I cannot say what or when, but be ready, and contact that general you mentioned. Tell her to be ready as well. We may only get one chance at this. What about you? Are you safe?" "For now. But Taman, if this fails, if I disappear, or if you hear nothing from me, know that I tried. Know that somewhere a Velari princess believed humans and Velari could be friends instead of enemies. We will succeed. We have to. Yes, we have to." She smiled even though he could not see it. "Until we meet again, my friend. Until we can dine together without hiding in shadows." The communication ended. Erin looked at the stars and wondered if she would live to see the peace she was fighting for. But for the first time in months, she felt hope. Small and fragile, but real. Somewhere across the gala, the military police came for Taman during morning formation. Two officers, armed and serious, approached Captain Jiwoo first. She listened to whatever they said, her face going rigid. Then she looked at Taman and he saw the betrayal in her eyes before she spoke. "Corporal Taman, you are under arrest for unauthorized communication with enemy forces. Surrender your weapon and come with us." The courtyard went silent. Every soldier stared. Hyunwoo looked confused, then shocked. Taman did not resist. He handed over his rifle and allowed them to secure his hands behind his back. As they led him away, he heard the whispers starting. Traitor. Spy. Coward. They threw him in a cell deep within Fort Daejeon's detention center. No windows, just cold metal walls and a single light that never turned off. For 3 days, no one came. No interrogation, no questions, nothing. Just silence and his own thoughts. On the 4th day, Captain Jiwoo entered his cell. She dismissed the guards and stood looking at him. Taman remained seated on his bunk, meeting her gaze. "They found the communicator," she said finally. "Hidden in your personal effects. Velari technology. Operating on merchant frequencies. Communications logs going back months." She crossed her arms. "I defended you, you know. Told them you were a good soldier. That you saved Fort Daejeon. They asked me how you knew about the attack. I had no good answer. I'm sorry. Sorry?" Her voice rose. "You've been talking to the enemy for months. Sharing intelligence. Committing treason. And you're sorry?" "Yes." Taman stood, his chains rattling. I'm sorry I lied to you. You deserved better, but I'm not sorry I did it. Explain that to me. Make me understand. So he told her everything. About Aaron, about their meetings in the ruins, about learning that the Velari were afraid rather than aggressive, about discovering that both sides were trapped in a war perpetuated by fear and profit, about trying to save lives on both sides, even when it meant betraying his own. Jiwoo listened in silence. When he finished, she sat down on the opposite bunk. You realize they're going to execute you? I know. Was she worth it? This Velari princess? Taemin thought about that. It's not about her. It's about doing what's right. The war is wrong, Jiwoo. Not because we're losing or because it's hard. It's wrong because it doesn't need to happen. We could find another way if we just tried. You're an idealist. Idealists get shot. Maybe. But I'd rather die for trying to stop a senseless war than live knowing I could have done something and didn't. Jiwoo was quiet for a long moment. I've been reviewing your record. Every piece of intelligence you provided using your mysterious sources. Do you know how many lives you saved? Not just at Fort Dijon. You warned us about supply line attacks, about ambushes, about chemical weapon deployments. Because of your information, casualty rates in this sector dropped by 40% over the last 3 months. That doesn't make me less of a traitor. No, but it makes you a complicated one. She stood. There's a general coming tomorrow. Minseo. She wants to speak with you personally before your court-martial begins. I don't know why, but she specifically requested it. Maybe. Jiwoo paused at the door. Maybe you're not as alone in this as you think. After she left, Taemin lay back on the bunk and stared at the ceiling. He wondered if Aaron was safe, if her plan to expose Commander Kareth had succeeded. He wondered if he would ever know, or if he would face a firing squad before finding out. General Minseo arrived the next morning. She was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much war. She dismissed the guards and sat across from Taemin. Corporal, I've read the charges against you. Treason, collaboration with the enemy, unauthorized communications. They want you dead. She leaned forward. But I've also read Captain Jiwoo's reports, and I've reviewed the intelligence you provided. So I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I want a direct answer. Do you believe peace with the Velari is possible? Yes, sir. Why? Because I've talked to one. I've learned about them. They're not monsters. They're people who are afraid. If we could just communicate, if we could show them we're not a threat. We've tried communication. Every attempt has been rejected. Because the wrong people are making the attempts, Taemin said. People who profit from the war. People who want it to continue. On both sides, Minseo's eyes sharpened. You have evidence of this? My contact does. A Velari princess who has been investigating corruption in their military. She's gathering proof that their commander Kareth has been deliberately prolonging the war for personal gain. And you believe her? She warned me about Fort Dijon. She could have let thousands of humans die. Instead, she risked herself to save us. Yes, I believe her. Minseo stood and walked around the small cell. I became a soldier because I believed in protecting humanity. But somewhere along the way, this war stopped being about protection and started being about profit. I've watched politicians build careers on fear, while weapons manufacturers celebrate record profits. I've watched good soldiers die for objectives that mean nothing. She turned back to him. If I could end this war tomorrow, I would. But I'm just one general. I don't have enough influence. Why, what if you did? What if there was a way to bring together people from both sides who actually want peace? That would be treason. It would also save thousands of lives. Minseo smiled grimly. You're either very brave or very stupid, Corporal. Maybe both. She moved to the door, then looked back. Your court-martial begins in 3 days. I can't stop it. But I can slow it down. And while it's being delayed, I can make some inquiries. See if there are others who feel the way I do. No promises. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet. You might still end up dead. While Taemin waited in his cell, events were unfolding across the galaxy. Aaron's evidence against Commander Kareth reached Emperor Velran, along with support from officers who were tired of the endless war. But Kareth had his own intelligence network. When he realized what was happening, he moved quickly. The palace coup attempt lasted 3 hours. Kareth's loyalist forces tried to seize control of the imperial palace and capture both Aaron and her father. But Velran had prepared for this. His own loyal guards held the critical positions, and Sora had rallied younger Velari nobles who believed in peace. The fighting was brutal, Velari battled Velari in the crystal halls where no blood had been spilled for 10,000 years. In the end, Kyrith's forces were defeated, but the commander himself escaped on a fast ship, fleeing toward the warfront. He will try to reveal your communications with the human. Sora warned Aaron as they stood in the damaged throne room. He will try to destroy your credibility by making you look like a traitor. Let him, Aaron said calmly. The truth is not treason. I have been speaking with a human soldier, and through him I learned that peace is possible. I will not hide it. Emperor Velran, wounded but alive, addressed his daughter. Kyrith will reach the military command within days. When he does, he will turn my own forces against me by claiming I have been compromised. Unless we act first. Aaron finished. We need to contact the humans officially, and we need to do it now. That is an enormous risk. Doing nothing is a greater risk. Velran nodded slowly. Contact your human soldier. Tell him to have his general ready. We will propose a secret meeting, a summit where both sides can discuss peace away from those who profit from war. Back at Fort Dajan, Taemon's communicator suddenly activated. The guards had confiscated it, but General Minseo had kept it in her possession, curious about this mysterious device. When it chimed, she activated it. This is Princess Aaron of the Velari Empire. I am attempting to reach Corporal Taemon. Please respond if you can hear this message. Minseo's eyes widened. She immediately went to Taemon's cell and activated the communicator in his presence. This is General Minseo of the Colonial Defense Forces. Corporal Taemon is currently detained. Who is this, really? I am Princess Aaron, daughter of Emperor Velran, and I have a proposal that could end this war. Her voice was clear despite the static. My father wishes to arrange a meeting, secret neutral location, representatives from both sides who genuinely want peace. Will you come? Minseo looked at Taemon. Is this real? It's real. The general made her decision. Where and when? There is an abandoned colonial station in the neutral zone, Station Threshold. My father will be there in 7 days with a small escort. No weapons, no tricks. Just people who are tired of watching others die. Aaron paused. Bring Taemon, please. He's the bridge between our peoples. His voice matters. He's facing court-martial for treason. Then perhaps it is time humans recognize that sometimes treason against war is loyalty to life. Minseo looked at Taemon for a long moment. Then she spoke into the communicator. We'll be there. 7 days. But if this is a trap, it is not a trap. It is hope. Aaron's voice was warm. And hope is all we have left. The communication ended. Minseo sat down heavily. I am about to commit career suicide. Welcome to the club, Taemon said with a slight smile. If this works, we might end a war. If it fails, we'll probably all die. She stood. Get him out of those chains. We have a lot of planning to do and very little time. As the guards removed Taemon's restraints, he felt something he had not felt in a long time. Hope. Fragile and uncertain, Station Threshold floated in the darkness between stars. A relic from humanity's early expansion days. It had been abandoned for 15 years after a mining accident, leaving behind empty corridors and silent chambers. Now it would host the most important meeting in galactic history. Taemon stood in the main conference hall, checking the environmental systems one more time. The station's power core had been reactivated, life support was functioning, and the communication arrays were online. Captain Jiwoo worked beside him, still looking uncomfortable with this entire situation. This is insane, she muttered. We're trusting the enemy to show up unarmed at an abandoned station. Everything about this screams ambush. If they wanted to ambush us, they would have done it when I was alone in those ruins months ago, Taemon replied. This is real, Jiwoo. They want peace as much as we do. Some of them want peace. Others want us dead. She checked her sidearm, which she had insisted on carrying despite the agreement to come unarmed. If anything goes wrong, we're all dead anyway. One pistol won't save us. General Minseo entered the hall wearing her dress uniform rather than combat gear. Behind her came Private Hyunwoo, who had volunteered to be part of the security detail. His young face was nervous but determined. Velari ship is approaching, Hyunwoo reported. Civilian design, no visible weapons, just like they promised. Let's hope promises mean something today. Minseo stood at the center of the hall, hands clasped behind her back. Remember, everyone? We are here to listen and to talk. No matter what happens, no matter what is said, we maintain control. Understood? They nodded. Taman's heart pounded as he watched the docking port indicators light up. He had not seen Aaron in person since those 3 nights in the ruins. Would she remember him? Would this meeting achieve anything, or would it be just another failed attempt? The airlock opened. Emperor Velrun entered first, flanked by 2 royal guards who carried no weapons as promised. He was tall even for a Velari, his silver skin marked with age patterns, his opal eyes tired but alert. Behind him came Lady Sora carrying data devices, and then came Aaron. She wore formal robes of deep blue, her hair arranged in elaborate patterns that signified her royal status. But when her eyes met Taman's across the hall, she smiled. A small, genuine smile that reminded him of their conversations in ancient ruins under 3 moons. The 2 groups stood facing each other. 3 years of war, thousands of dead, and now they shared the same air and nobody was shooting. It felt surreal. General Minseo spoke first.
Emperor Velran.
Thank you for coming. This is an unprecedented situation for all of us. Indeed it is, General Minseo. Velran's human language was perfect, without accent. I am told your soldier and my daughter are responsible for this meeting. An unusual alliance. They showed more wisdom than either of our governments. Minseo gestured to the conference table. Shall we sit? They arranged themselves carefully. Humans on one side, Velari on the other. Taman found himself sitting across from Aaron. She met his eyes briefly, a look that said everything they could not speak aloud in this formal setting. Let me be direct, Velran began. This war is destroying both our peoples, not just in lives lost, but in resources wasted and opportunities missed. I have learned, through my daughter's investigation, that elements within my own military have been prolonging this conflict for profit. I suspect the same is true on your side. Minseo nodded grimly. We have similar suspicions. Certain corporations and political figures benefit greatly from continued hostilities. They have sabotaged peace initiatives before. Then we share a common enemy, greed and fear. Velran pulled up a holographic display showing star maps. The contested territories, these 7 systems where most of our battles have occurred, my people need the mineral resources found there. Without them, our biology fails. We sicken and die. Our colonies need living space and agricultural worlds, Minseo replied. Humanity is expanding rapidly. We need room to grow. And so we fight over the same space, each believing the other will take everything and leave us nothing. Aaron spoke for the first time, her voice clear and calm. But what if both needs could be met? Taman felt his moment and spoke up. Joint operations. Humans establish agricultural colonies on the habitable planets while Velari mine the mineral-rich moons and asteroids. We share the systems instead of fighting over them. Humans working alongside Velari? One of Velran's guards sounded skeptical. After 3 years of killing each other? We are working alongside them right now, Captain Jiwoo pointed out. And nobody has died yet. That is progress. The logistics would be complicated, Sora said, bringing up data on her display. Trade agreements, territorial boundaries, security arrangements. But it is possible. We have run economic models. Both species could prosper more through cooperation than through conflict. For 2 hours they discussed details, mining rights and agricultural zones, trade ratios and security protocols. Every point was debated carefully, both sides looking for traps or disadvantages. But slowly, reluctantly, the shape of an agreement began to form. Then Hyunwoo, who had been monitoring communications, suddenly tensed. General, we have incoming ships, multiple contacts. They're broadcasting Velari military codes. Velran's face went rigid. Kyrith, he escaped the palace and must have tracked us here. How many ships? Minseo demanded. 7, no 9. Cruiser class heavily armed. Hyunwoo's voice was shaking. They're demanding we surrender the Emperor and the human delegation. This was a trap, Jiwoo hissed, reaching for her weapon. No. Aaron stood quickly. Kyrith is trying to destroy the peace talks. He knows if we succeed, his power is gone. He will kill all of us, Velari and human alike, and blame humans for our deaths. Velran was already moving to the communication console. This is Emperor Velran. I command you to stand down immediately. Kyrith's voice came through cold and hard. You are no longer my emperor. You have betrayed our people by conspiring with human animals. Surrender now and you will be given a trial. Resist and you will be destroyed. We have no weapons, Sora said quietly. This station has no defenses. We are helpless. Taman looked at Aaron and saw his own determination reflected in her eyes. They had come too far to let it end like this. "General, how long until human reinforcements can arrive?" 40 minutes minimum. Minseo's face was grim. "We don't have that long." "The station still has functioning thrusters," Hyunwoo said suddenly. "We could move it. Not far, but enough to buy time." "Move it where?" Jiwoo asked. Taman studied the tactical display. "There. That debris field from the old mining accident. Large pieces of asteroid, high metal content that will interfere with targeting systems. If we can get into the debris field, we might survive long enough for help to arrive." "It's a desperate plan," Velran said. "It's the only plan we have." Minseo was already moving toward the control center. "Everyone to stations. Velari who know ship systems help us get this station moving. Humans prepare to defend key areas if they board us." The next 20 minutes were chaos. Taman worked alongside Sora to restart the ancient thruster systems. Aaron coordinated with Hyunwoo to plot the safest course through the debris field. Velran and Minseo stood together at the command console, a human general and a Velari emperor working in perfect synchronization. The station shuddered as thrusters fired for the first time in 15 years. It moved slowly, painfully slowly, toward the debris field. Behind them, Kyrith's ships opened fire. Plasma bolts struck the station's hull and alarms screamed throughout the corridors. "Hull breach on Deck 3, Jiwoo shouted. "Emergency bulkheads holding." "We're not going to make it," one of Velran's guards said. "Yes, we will." Aaron's voice was fierce. "We did not come this far to fail now." The station entered the debris field just as another volley hit. A massive piece of asteroid blocked the shot, taking the impact instead of the station. They were in the maze now, surrounded by tumbling rocks and old metal wreckage. "They can't target us precisely anymore," Hyunwoo reported, "but they're moving ships to surround the field. Human ships incoming." The communication officer's voice was excited. 3 destroyers arriving ahead of schedule. They received our distress call and came at maximum speed. But the situation was still desperate. Kyrith's forces outnumbered the human ships and the station was already badly damaged. Then something unexpected happened. "Additional Velari ships dropping out of hyperspace," Sora announced. 4 heavy cruisers. They're broadcasting loyalty codes to the Emperor. They're on our side." Velran's expression showed surprise and relief. "My call for help reached them after all. Some of the military remained loyal. Now it was a battle. Human and Velari ships fighting together against Kyrith's forces. The irony was not lost on anyone. The first time their militaries cooperated, it was to protect a peace summit from those who wanted war. The battle lasted 30 minutes. Kyrith's ships, outnumbered and caught between human and loyal Velari forces, began to retreat. But Kyrith himself made one last desperate move. His command ship broke from formation and made a suicide run directly at station threshold. "He's going to ram us," Jiwoo shouted. Hyunwoo was already moving. The young private ran to the station's ancient defensive turret, a relic from its mining days designed to destroy. Danger 1 year had passed since the summit of Threshold. 1 year since Hyunwoo's sacrifice and Kyrith's death. 1 year since humans and Velari had stopped shooting each other and started talking instead. The transformation had been neither quick nor easy, but it had been real. Taman stood on a hillside overlooking Haven's Edge, the first joint human-Velari settlement. The city sprawled across the valley below, a strange mix of human rectangular buildings and Velari crystalline structures. Agricultural fields stretched in one direction, managed by human farmers using earth crops adapted to alien soil. In the other direction, mining operations extracted minerals from the mountains, Velari workers using techniques refined over millennia. 2 species sharing one world, building something new together. "It is beautiful, is it not?" Aaron's voice came from beside him. She had arrived quietly as she often did. After abdicating her position as heir to the Velari throne, she had chosen to live on Haven's Edge, working with war orphans of both species. Her formal robes were gone, replaced by simple clothing that would not have looked out of place on any colonist. "It's better than I imagined," Taman admitted. He had retired from military service 6 months ago, unable to return to the life of a soldier. Now he worked as a cultural liaison, teaching humans about Velari customs and Velari about human culture. It was harder work than fighting in some ways. Changing minds was more difficult than winning battles. "I brought food." Aaron set down a basket between them. Inside was an odd mixture: human bread and vegetables, Velari crystal paste, and Vrelli's fruit. I thought we could finally have a proper meal together. No ration bars, no hiding in ruins. Taman smiled and sat beside her. They had shared many meals over the past year, but each one still felt special. A reminder of how far they had come from that first encounter in the crystalline forest. "How are the children?" he asked as they ate. "Growing, learning. Yesterday I watched a human child teach a Velari child how to play football. The Velari child did not understand the rules, but she enjoyed running." Aaron's expression softened. "They do not remember the war the way we do. For them, the other species is not an enemy, just another person to play with. That's how it should be." "Yes, but there is still so much work to do." She looked out at the settlement. The ceasefire holds, but tensions remain. There are humans who distrust Velari, Velari who fear humans. The peace is fragile. All worthwhile things are fragile. Taman thought about Hyunwoo, about Captain Jiwoo, who had become humanity's ambassador to the Velari Empire, about all the people working every day to make this peace permanent. But fragile doesn't mean weak. We're building something strong here, even if it doesn't always feel that way. Down in the settlement, life continued its complicated dance. Human merchants traded with Velari craftspeople in markets where both currencies were accepted. Mixed work crews repaired infrastructure, humans and Velari learning to communicate through gestures when words failed. Children of both species attended the same schools, learning each other's languages and histories. It was not perfect. There were still incidents, fights between species, misunderstandings that escalated, lingering resentments from the war years. But each incident was addressed, each problem worked through. Progress was slow but steady. "I received a message from my father," Aaron said. "He wants me to return to the palace, to take up my position as heir again." Taman felt his chest tighten. "Will you go?" "I do not know. Part of me wants to stay here, working with the children. But another part thinks I could do more good from a position of power." She looked at him. "What do you think I should do?" "I think you should do what you believe is right. You always have." "That is not helpful advice. I'm not good at advice. I'm barely good at my own life." He set down his food. "But if you're asking my opinion, I think the galaxy needs people like you in positions of power. People who care more about doing what's right than about being right. People who would risk everything for peace. You are describing yourself as well. I'm just a soldier who got lucky enough to meet someone who changed his mind about the enemy. And I am just a princess who ran away from her wedding and happened to ask the right human if we could dine together." She smiled. "We are both more than we pretend to be." They sat in comfortable silence, eating and watching the sun set over Haven's Edge. It was a sight neither species had seen before. Human and Velari architecture silhouetted against a purple sky, smoke from cooking fires mixing with light from Velari crystal lamps. "Do you ever regret it?" Aaron asked quietly. "Everything you gave up? Your military career, the respect of many humans, the simple clarity of having an enemy to fight?" "Sometimes," Taman admitted. "Life was easier when I didn't question orders. When the enemy was just a target instead of a person with fears and dreams." He looked at her. "But I can't go back to that. Once you see someone as a person instead of an enemy, you can't unsee it. And I wouldn't want to. I feel the same." She finished her meal and stood, brushing off her clothes. "Come, I want to show you something." She led him down into the settlement, through streets where humans and Velari walked side by side. They stopped at a memorial in the city center. It was a simple monument made jointly by human and Velari artists. Crystal and metal intertwined, reaching toward the sky. Carved into the base were names. Thousands of names, human and Velari soldiers who had died in the war, and at the very top, highlighted in both languages, was Private Hyunwoo's name. "We dedicated it last week," Aaron said. Representatives from both governments attended. They spoke about sacrifice and honor and the cost of peace. She touched the monument gently, but I think Hyunwoo would have just been happy to see what his death helped create. A place where his sacrifice meant something. Taman placed his hand beside hers on the cold surface. He was 22. He never got to see any of this. Never got to fall in love, raise a family, grow old. He gave up everything so others could have what he couldn't. Which is why we must make it matter. We must ensure his death was not wasted." Aaron's voice was fierce with determination. "Every day of peace is a day that honors him and everyone else who died." Around them, the settlement continued its evening routines. A human mother called her children in for dinner. A Velari elder taught a group of mixed-species students about history. A young human and a young Velari shared a laugh over something only they understood. "My father was right about one thing," Aaron said as they walked through the streets. "I could do more good from a position of power. But I am afraid of losing what I have found here, afraid of becoming like the rulers before me, too removed from ordinary people to remember what matters." "Then don't become like them. Stay connected to places like this. Remember the faces of the children you teach. Remember that peace is built by people, not by politicians." Taman stopped and turned to face her. "And if you do go back to the palace, remember that you have friends here. People who believe in you and what you're trying to do. People like you, especially like me." She smiled, that warm expression that still seemed strange on an alien face but had become familiar and dear to him. "Then I will go. I will return to the palace and accept my position as heir. But I will come back here regularly, to see the children, to remember why peace matters, and to dine with a friend." They walked back to the hillside as 3 moons rose above Haven's edge. The city lights were coming on now, creating a tapestry of illumination that belonged to neither species alone, but to both together. "Do you think it will last?" Taman asked. "The peace, I mean. Will our children's children still remember why we stopped fighting?" "I do not know," Aaron admitted. "History suggests that peace is always temporary, that eventually fear and greed will drive species apart again. But history also said humans and Velari could never work together. History said we were too different, too afraid, too entrenched in war." She gestured at the settlement below. "And yet here we are, proving history wrong." "Here we are," Taman echoed. They sat together as the night deepened, sharing the last of the food Aaron had brought. Around them, Haven's Edge settled into evening rhythms. Lights in windows, voices calling goodnight, the sounds of a community preparing for rest. It was ordinary and peaceful and precious precisely because it had seemed impossible a year ago. In the valley below, a Velari child and a human child walked home together, talking animatedly about tomorrow's games. They did not see themselves as symbols or as proof that peace could work. They simply saw each other as friends. And perhaps that was the most important thing of all. "Thank you," Aaron said softly, "for not shooting me in those ruins, for listening instead of attacking, for being brave enough to question what you had been taught. Thank you for asking if we could dine together, for taking that first step toward peace when it would have been easier to run away." Taman looked at her. "We started something together, something bigger than either of us imagined, and now others will continue it. Even after we are gone, the work will go on." She stood and helped him to his feet. "But for tonight, let us simply enjoy what we have built. Tomorrow will bring new challenges. Tonight is for peace." They walked back toward the settlement, 2 figures silhouetted against the moons, a human and a Velari who had changed the